A loving father and restaurant owner sent a chilling text message to his mother that told her he was being chased by a group of men in pickup trucks. The young black man was never seen alive again, but his decapitated body was later discovered in the woods.
Rasheem Carter in Mississippi.
A forensic examination.
Mysterious death of a young Fayette man.
Missing since last fall, was found dead.
Disturbing footage then came to light that suggested that this man may have been the victim of a modern-day lynching. In late 2022, Rasheem Carter, a welder from Mississippi, took on a new contracting job in Taylorsville. He didn't get along with his new colleagues, even telling his mother that he thought they were conspiring to kill him. In October of that year, Rasheem vanished, but shocking text messages revealed that his paranoia might have been justified. Rasheem's body was then discovered in a horrific state. He'd been dismembered and decapitated, all signs pointing to a brutal murder. So why are police saying there were no signs of foul play? 25-year-old Rasheem Carter had been the owner of a seafood restaurant. Callie's Express, named after Rasheem's young daughter, had been forced to close in 2020 due to the pandemic, and so Rasheem decided to utilize his trade skills as a welder to get enough cash so he could reopen his beloved restaurant. Rasheem traveled from his hometown of Fayette, Mississippi, to pursue a contract job at a plant in Laurel, Mississippi, some 100 miles away from his hometown. Accompanied by a team of temporary workers from different states, they stayed in a hotel in Laurel County and commuted a 20-mile journey each day. It was hard work, but it meant Rasheem could save up the money he needed to revive his business, and that was what kept him going. But right from the start, it seemed that Rasheem had problems. On the morning of October 1st, 2022, Rasheem anxiously texted his mother, Tiffany Carter, pouring out the details of his work nightmare. He explained, "Me and the owner of this company are not seeing eye to eye," the message read. Another said, "If anything happens to me, he is responsible for it. He's got these guys wanting to kill me." Rasheem told his mother that he was terrified for his safety. That same afternoon, Rasheem again texted Tiffany, stating that he was being chased by a group of white men in 3 pickup trucks. Rasheem's mother frantically called her son, but he didn't pick up. A few minutes later, Rasheem replied with a text saying, "I'm good, Mama," but it was the last time they'd ever speak. Tiffany continually tried calling her son, but with no success. After being unable to contact him for 24 hours, Tiffany filed a missing persons report for Rasheem, and local authorities began to investigate the young man's disappearance. Strangely, the police were already familiar with Rasheem because he'd been at their precinct the day before. Police followed the trail of Rasheem's last known whereabouts. CCTV footage showed him at a nearby dollar store on the day he'd been reported missing, and then he headed to the police station to report that he and his roommates had a verbal disagreement and he felt threatened. He asked them if they'd give him a lift back to his hotel, but the police denied Rasheem's request because Laurel was outside of their jurisdiction. No one ever saw Rasheem Carter alive again. The trail quickly went cold. Police couldn't determine exactly how or where Rasheem had vanished. It wasn't until a month later, on November 2nd, 2022, that skeletal remains were discovered in a wooded area around 20 miles west of Laurel. Analysis confirmed that the remains belonged to Rasheem Carter. It was a tragic blow for Rasheem's family, who'd been praying that their son would return home. They'd been holding on to a single thread of hope that their beloved son would come back to them, but with a sudden heart-wrenching blow, that hope was quickly snuffed out and replaced with an unbearable grief. Authorities discovered that Rasheem's bones had been scattered around a dense section of woods and that his teeth had been removed post-mortem. Police immediately ruled out foul play, but the circumstances around Rasheem's disappearance and dismembered body aroused the suspicions of many, none more so than Rasheem's family. It wasn't until March 2023 that new evidence came to light in the form of an image showing what might have been the last moments of Rasheem's life. A trail camera in the Mississippi wilderness, positioned around 300 yards from where Rasheem's body had been found, caught a shirtless black man running through the woods. In the image, Rasheem is holding a thick branch in one of his hands, wielding it like a weapon. His back looked to be covered in bruises, and his body language suggested that he was terrified, perhaps on the run for his life. The family demanded further investigation into Rasheem's strange death, using this image as a rallying point for their cause. Along with the help of some high-profile attorneys, the family paid for an independent autopsy, which bizarrely found different results to the first. According to the report, Rasheem's head was found to have been severed from his spine, something the official autopsy failed to mention, and that his body suffered a number of significant injuries. Around this time, Rasheem's mother also publicly revealed details of her son's final text messages. Everything began to look very suspicious. What was really going on? Rasheem's family and their lawyers took things public. They concluded that Rasheem had been a victim of a Mississippi lynching at the hands of white supremacists, and that the strange footage of Rasheem running shirtless through the woods was evidence of him being pursued. Their independent autopsy report did indeed suggest that Rasheem might have been attacked, especially given Rasheem's visible bruises on the cam footage. Rasheem's colleagues informed police that in the week leading up to the man's disappearance, he'd been acting erratically at work. He'd gotten into a verbal fight with another employee the previous week and stormed off. Colleagues also claimed that when Rasheem first took the job on, he was apparently a light-hearted guy who loved making jokes, but Rasheem had soon become reserved and distant. However, Rasheem had no history of mental illness. He reportedly didn't drink alcohol or take drugs, and autopsy results found no intoxicants in Rasheem's system. Police looked into the whereabouts of Rasheem's colleagues at the time of his disappearance, but officers ruled out their involvement based on evidence from their GPS pings. According to their report, Rasheem's workmates were working a different job around 100 miles away at the time. Rasheem's former boss, Luke Clements, was initially considered a suspect, but has since been cleared of any involvement. Speaking publicly, Clements said, "I want to help any way we can. We have made every effort to address any of these accusations that have been made. It's just unfortunate." Since making these claims, Clements has since gone into hiding after receiving death threats. For now, the official story is that Rasheem entered the woods alone, then passed away either due to exposure or dehydration. His dismemberment came as a result of wild animal attacks, although no explanation has been given by police as to why Rasheem found himself running shirtless through the woods. In March 2022, Rasheem's family and their attorneys urged the FBI to open their independent investigation into the case. Noted attorney Ben Crump called for federal help of the possible hate crime, marking the most significant progress in the case in months. However, the FBI or any other law enforcement agency are yet to get involved. Rasheem's case has created an outpouring of affection on social media, with many followers using the hashtags #JusticeForRasheem to show their support. Many online supporters and fellow natives of Laurel and the surrounding areas have shared personal stories of their experiences with police corruption and rampant racism that may help signal boost Rasheem's case. Likewise, Rasheem's community are still demanding answers in person. 2 protests have been held in Taylorsville, Mississippi since the case became widely known. One demonstrator wrote, "Rasheem's life mattered" on the street, but was promptly removed by police. Later, the town's chief of police, Gabe Horn, even made a joke about it on Facebook. The case of Rasheem Carter's death is still an open investigation. The investigating police agency, Taylorsville Police, are yet to release the majority of Carter's death records or the full footage from the trail camera due to the investigation still being active. The Smith County Sheriffs recently went on record to say there is no evidence of foul play, but everything is still on the table. There is nothing being covered up, there is nothing being swept under the rug, there's nothing to hide. Tiffany Carter and her family are in a state of limbo as they await answers about the demise of Rasheem. As they struggle to come to terms with the loss of their beloved family member, they find joy in remembering the good times with Rasheem. At family gatherings, Rasheem would often show up with seafood platters from his restaurant, and his generosity even extended to donating school uniforms to children who couldn't afford them. He had an infectious love for music and dancing and was shared by his daughter Callie, a spitting image of her father. Sadly, his restaurant remains closed to this day. Was this a racially motivated lynching? Investigators are yet to rule out murder as more evidence comes to light, and perhaps in time we'll learn the truth of what happened to this innocent young victim. There are still many unanswered questions as Rasheem's family continues to campaign for justice.